So you've got Rad, is it Rad 2?
RADII.
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 Got it.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm taking a look at the site and,
Okay.
I like
crazy.
it. It's very
Oh,
different. It's very different, but I like the way it flows. So explain to me the idea of RADII. By the way, guys, I'm looking at RADII.co if you want to look at it with me. So tell me about that.
I'm honored that you took the time to check that out. Thank you, Tristan. RADII is really it was a pet project that I started when I was at Alibaba, and it's now what I'm kind of focusing my time on. It's focused on youth culture that's emerging from China and the region. Music, film, arts, design, even tech, but its intersection with society. And what I'm trying to reflect in this is the change that's happening in in Chinese youth culture, because it's not a monolith. The country's not a monolith. There are pockets of very extreme creativity in groups, whether it's the big cities or even the countryside in the third, fourth tier cities. You'll see we just released a film on reggae in Yunnan. Most people would never expect there to be that music genre in a rural part. Yunnan is southwest China. It's like the furthest, from the big cities, but they have probably the most diverse set of minority cultures there that have embraced reggae style, and they've made it their own. The Wa minority, there's a bunch of these groups that are producing some amazing music. There's hip hop in Chengdu, and there's big EDM movement in Shenzhen. Shenzhen is the tech center, but the way that people kind of escape from the stress of work is they do go to these rave parties, and there are these massive clubs. So we wanted to kind of show that through the media and content that we create. And how does this relate to Alibaba? Well, I think that part of, again, at the very beginning of our conversation, Tristan, you asked why I wrote the book. I think that, we're in a time of great tension and, between two countries, the United States and China. But these two countries are the only countries in the world that are in a position to really solve what are the most pressing existential problems that we face as human beings. And being American and of Chinese descent, I feel this is a very personal issue. So rather than to get into the fray of politics and try and talk just about those issues, so while I do think they're very important, I think one of the other more constructive things we can do is just demystify the cultures between one another and show that there are human beings behind all of this. And if you look at the numbers, there are 330 mainland Chinese that study in America in any one year. They love going to America to learn about the culture and about everything else in America. But there's only 30,000 Americans that go to China to study. And you think about this huge disconnect in terms of mutual understanding, and it really does start with the youth. To understand one another, you need to spend time with one another. Yeah. And so knowing that it's going to be hard to convince another 300,000 American students to go to China anytime soon, I figure RADII is a great way to kind of at least provide a window into that youth culture.
I like that, dude.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I was talking to Daryl Eves. He's Mr. Beast.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, so YouTube. Mr. Beast is like the biggest YouTuber on the planet.
Yeah.
And so Daryl Eves is his mentor, and we were talking about China, and he said, "Dude, you would be shocked to know that the Chinese are way ahead of the United States on anything social media related."
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, whoa, dude, slow down. Tell me about this. I wanted to know more. So, dude, you've experienced the growth of the internet in an amazing country. And now we somehow in the US are kind of closed out to what's happening, how fast it's growing. I don't think we fully understand how amazing social media is there, and video content and everything.
Yeah,
Tell me
yeah.
about that. What are we missing? What should we know?
Well, hey, thanks for bringing up this subject, because I think you're right. There is a lot to be learned from what's happening in China, because um, social media has become such a big part of everyday life for the average Chinese youth. And granted, there's Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that here in the U.S., but the main driver in this, Tristan, is that when China went through its internet revolution, there was very little in the way of retail and finance infrastructure. There are 3.3 times more retail space per capita in the United States versus China, even though China has 4 times the population. And so what happened is the internet sort of filled in the gaps where people normally go to a shopping mall to buy stuff. When Taobao, which was an Alibaba creation, it's like an eBay or Amazon. When it came about, people immediately went to those platforms because that's where they could buy stuff that they can't find anywhere else. And when it came to payments, the banking system was not that mature. There weren't even many credit cards. People went directly to digital payments. And so they started to do all their transactions online.